Hi, thanks for joining me on the show today. I have a guest in here who we travel a lot of circles, the same circles in our community and throughout the town, and we've met a couple of times, but I recently wanted to have him on the show to share his story about leaving his former career behind and starting anew. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me,
This
Lisa.
is Matt Tait. Thanks for being here. You are a real estate broker and also co-owner with your wife, Brittany Tait of Osteo Strong, which is a new business here in our community.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable change and really a breath of fresh air for us.
So let's back up and talk about what you were doing in your career leading up to it. How long have you been married? You have some kids and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so Brittany and I are high school sweethearts. We got married. We've been married for about 10 years now. 3 kids, 9, 7, and 4. And we moved to Central Washington in 2010. My job brought us here. I was in education. I managed a grant for the Quincy School District, was their head baseball coach, and then proceeded into being an athletic director at a couple different districts here in Central Washington. So
you were working in education for a long time?
Yeah, I actually started coaching my freshman year of college, so I did 15 years in the schools in some form or another.
So when you talk about coaching and things, my son played baseball, and I'm an avid baseball fan. So I think, wow, coaching, why would you ever want to not do that? You know, you must have enjoyed it. It was pretty rewarding, I'm sure.
Coaching is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life.
When done well.
When done well, and obviously, you know, the cool thing about coaching is you get a test every 3 or 4 days. You know,
Right.
The baseball schedule is 20 games long. You play 2 games, 3 games a week, so you get to test what you're doing, and you get a lot of constant feedback.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Which is good and bad, totally good and bad. I was a part of a couple different rebuilding efforts, and that was always fun to see something go from where it started to where we were able to take it.
So what was the most rewarding part about baseball in general? Like that sport itself, I think, is different than any other, and everyone would probably say it about their own sport, but it is such a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
And what were some of the transitions and lessons you saw the kids learning before your eyes at that age?
You know, baseball is a game of failure, and you know, the best players, they're only successful 30% of the time, 3 out of 10 times. And in life, you have to deal with a lot of failure and a lot of upset, and maybe things don't always go the way that you want them to, but the cool thing about baseball is if you're persistent in what you're doing, you practice a lot, and you really dedicate yourself to what you want to do in your craft, you can do some remarkable things. You know, I've got a number of stories, individual stories from kids that I coached all across the state that are really a testament to that. A kid that had no business being even on the varsity baseball team when he was a freshman, and then he was looking at honorable mention by the time he was a senior because he committed himself. So it's remarkable.
Yeah, I have to share. We can talk about baseball for a minute, right? We got a whole half hour. Yay! So when my son started playing baseball, you know, my husband passed away when he was in the middle of coaching his t-ball year, and so he didn't play again for many years. And my dad finally had this conversation with him because he loves statistics, and we'd be driving down the road, and he'd be in the back seat, and he'd say, name a year, and I'd say 1947, and he'd say who the winningest pitcher was and leading home run hitter or whatever. He loved the game, but he wasn't playing it. And my dad said to him finally, took him in, called him and went into a separate room and said, until you play the game, you won't really know the game. So you can love it all you want on a card or on the television, but until you play it. And so have you ever seen that Volvo commercial when they're playing catch in the front yard and the kid throws?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how he threw because I taught him, and so it took him a long time to get it right, but he had this net that my mom bought him that he would put up against the fence, and it had a hole in the center, and he would just play every day throwing. He's like, Mom, I'm going to be a pitcher. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to rain on your dream there. And he'd pick up, wiffle ball games in our neighborhood and everything. And he ended up being a second team all-conference pitcher in high school.
He dedicated himself.
Yeah, and got the ACE award. Yeah, I mean, it was just
amazing.
Yeah, he would kill me for sharing that story on the show, but it fits. So
totally fits.
But it was that dedication, and I couldn't help him with that. And I would get him coaches that would help him on the side and things, but to have, it takes that kind of knowing what you really, really want.
Yeah, you have to have a vision, and nothing compares to standing in a box where it's pitcher against batter, mano a mano. I mean, the only comparison I have with my son right now is a big wrestler, so that's about the only comparison I have of that one-on-one competition. And so it's amazing to see when kids dedicate themselves, put their mind to it, persevere through failure. When I was coaching, we had 5 core values: perseverance, responsibility, integrity, discipline, and excellence. And I had a lot of kids that really bought into that. And attributed to their success long term, and they're doing great things in life now, which is cool.
Well, it is very cool, and I'll tell you, I miss sitting. I used to sit right behind the umpire. I was pretty good. I didn't say much, but I would sit right behind him, and I spent a lot of time at the Apple Sox field last year, and this year because I missed going to baseball. So I love baseball, and now that it's always kind of this part of the season, where there's like how many 100 games by the time we get to the good stuff, know.
Yeah.
So, but I love watching it. Okay, so we got to talk about baseball. That makes me happy. But you, from the things that you're even talking about now, you're a person of leadership that you understand like a really big picture of your life and how that influences your career and your family and the choices you make. And so there was something missing for you.
Yeah, I had set a goal, probably as 15 or 16 years old, I was going to be an athletic director, and I had kind of checked all the boxes and got to being an AD. I was on the sideline for state football championship games and fourth in state basketball game, really got to be at the top of a department, but there was something missing. Home life wasn't the best, my marriage wasn't the best, I didn't have a lot of time with my kids, and that kind of led us to where we're at now,
Well, let's take a break. Let's talk about that. Let's take a break and we'll talk about where Matt Tait is now. He's a real estate broker in town. He's also the co-owner of Osteo Strong with his wife, Brittany, and their life has really taken a huge, wonderful turn. We'll come back in just a moment.
Wonderful.
Do you want to become part of the most dependable brand of vehicles today? Then start looking at Town Toyota. The innovative features of the Highlander are designed to help safely get you and your passengers wherever you want to go. The Prius is the most advanced hybrid on the road today. If you want to roll in style, we've got you covered in the 86 GT. Whatever your vehicle needs, Toyota has the seat for you. Come visit us today.
Dear Mary Maids, just got home from a trade show and I didn't have time to pick up the house. Kids made chili. Jeff did a mud run. Oh, and Winston shredded Teddy's bed. Again, please clean it the best you can. Oh, except for the statue Max made for me. Thanks, Abby.
Hi, Abby. Clean kitchen, clean bath, clean floor, naughty cat. Poor Teddy. The statue is precious. You should keep it forever. See you next time, Mary Maids.
Hi, we're here with Matt Tait. We're talking about his big transition from coaching and working as an athletic director, feeling like something was missing, and how he has rebuilt his life and family along with his wife Brittany. He is a real estate broker here in town and also the co-owner of Osteo Strong. We got to talk about baseball a little bit, so now we'll transition into your the big changes that you decided to make. Something was missing.
Yeah, there was just something missing in life for us. There was a lack of fulfillment in some areas. When you go to work every day and there's frustration that occurs, you're like, what's really important in life? And we all listen to various podcasts and read books, and I actually didn't read a whole bunch, but have had the opportunity in the last 6 months to read a number of books, and I'm really proud of that, making that change for the better. So, there was something missing, and kind of a last-ditch effort for my wife and I to kind of reconnect. We went to a Tony Robbins conference in West Palm, Florida, and that's where we found Osteo Strong.
Well, how did you get to that point? So are you up late at night and you're going through your phone and looking for something, or you heard about it, or, I would talk with people on my show in other instances where it doesn't really matter maybe necessarily that it's Tony Robbins, but there's something that's a switch that goes off that you start to make the changes that come. And so why was that the choice you made?
So I had a friend who had attended the same conference. It's called UPW, and he had been after me for a number of years, probably 2 or 3 years. You need to go to this. It's life-changing. You're going to learn so much about yourself that, really it's about breaking down the stories that you're told and finding a true you. And so I got to a point where I had a chance to choose my own leadership opportunities and personal growth, and receive some resistance from a former boss of mine. And I said, you know what, it's time to do this. And I just made the decision to go because I thought that was kind of a last chance effort. So I just finally, something clicked, like, you're not going to support this, I need to go do this for myself. And I called Brittany, I was like, hey, we're going to Florida. We're getting as far away from Washington State as we can. We're going to go to Florida. The cool thing is we're going to walk on fire and do great things. And
she's like,
really yeah, oh yeah. She's totally not like the go-getter type. She's really type B and awesome super mom with those qualities. But I was like, yeah, we're just going to do this. We're going to take a leap of faith. And so we did. We took a leap of faith, and it was one of the most memorable weeks of our lives that we've had together in 10 years of marriage and 16 years of being, a couple. So.
Well, and that's the really beautiful thing I think about what you're sharing is that, whatever it was that you were looking for, I think that that's what couples and people, business owners, people in a job, they give up along the way. For whatever reason. I think sometimes I say that a lot in speeches I give and things, is that we give up, because we're too broke or too tired or too sad or too comfortable. And then we stop living the life that we intended for ourselves, and everything else comes before it.
Yep.
So for you to recognize that. So you're at the conference, and then there's a big light bulb moment for you.
Yeah, there's a huge light bulb moment. They go through some exercises where you really break down some of those thoughts that you had about yourself, and you kind of find your true identity. Because kids are awesome. They have dreams. Like you talked about, you don't want to break your son's dreams.
Yeah.
You have all these dreams in life, and then there's all these stories that other people tell you because maybe they don't have the experiences, or they haven't achieved what they wanted to, and they're, oh, you're never going to do that. So at the conference, we broke down some of those things, and those were pretty personal to us, but it was just a revolutionary thing. And then the last day of the conference, we found OsteoStrong, and we'd been looking for something to invest into, and always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I started a landscape business in college. I was like, yeah, that's great. Did really well there. Always had something on the side, and this was an opportunity for us to jump in 2 feet and get out of the rat race of being in my profession that I was in, and kind of be my own boss and gain some freedom in life.
So you have OsteoStrong, and I actually had Brittany on my show months before I met you, when you guys first got started, because I met her through a different group of women. And so we've talked about that at length, and it's a thriving business. And what I love about what you guys are doing is you have a lot of community events. You had an after hours for women recently that I attended, and it's just about connecting people who are also thinking outside of that box.
Yeah.
There's so many of us in Wenatchee, I think, who really want to thrive here in this community and bring that thriving mentality to Wenatchee. And I feel like you guys are doing a really great job. Not like you need my compliment about it, but as an outsider looking in, I feel like that must be part of your goal. And
we are extremely thankful for the community of Wenatchee. We are the crazy people that started a business here with no real network, and 2 businesses, with my whole career transition, 2 businesses with really no network, and we've received a tremendous amount of support from everybody we've met. Our business is growing and thriving, and we're just excited to see where the future is going to take us. Well, let's take a break, and when we come back, I want to focus a bit on the decision you made to leave your career. That's a big decision. Yeah. What you and your wife, how you came to that conclusion, and at the same time, you're taking a financial risk by investing in this franchise business. It's proven successful, but it's still a risk. And then, what's led you to this today. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, we'll take a break. We're talking with Matt Tait. He's a real estate broker here in town. He's also the co-owner of OsteoStrong with his wife, Brittany Tait. And we're talking about the big changes he's made in his life that have brought him great happiness. We'll be back in just a moment.
Elements is a nationwide top 200 salon celebrating 20 years of service in the Wenatchee Valley. We are staffed with educated and experienced designers providing beauty and health services. Visit our Facebook page for our store hours and our menu of services.
Family roles change with time. You may find yourself being an unpaid caregiver to a loved one. Caregiving can be rewarding, but also stressful. Taking care of yourself is vital. Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington has low or no cost services for unpaid caregivers, such as in-home support, care supplies, and counseling. Connect in your local area by calling Aging and Adult Care at 800-572-4459 and mention you're interested in caregiver support.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm Lisa Bradshaw. I'm talking with Matt Tait. He's a real estate broker here in town. He's also the co-owner of OsteoStrong. And I got wind of his story recently about him leaving his career in athletics, a very secure job, but one that wasn't very fulfilling. And I asked you to come here and talk about the big leap you took and what it took for you. I was fortunate in that I got to try a lot of things. Wrote my first book and started an internet company, and if they failed, it was okay because my husband was paying the mortgage.
Yes.
So, and I was okay with being comfortable with that, you know. And so then when I became a widowed single mom, as I said in an earlier show, then I had this pressure, a whole different kind of pressure that I never expected to encounter. So you are, you know, that you were the primary breadwinner in your family. Your wife stayed home with your 4 kids, three kids.
Yep.
So that was a big leap for you.
Yeah.
So at this point, you've attended the Tony Robbins what do they call it, seminar, workshop?
It was a
something?
3-day conference. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you decided to invest in OsteoStrong. But talk about what you were doing in your own job. I mean, you were working in athletics, like you said. You'd worked your way up.
Yeah, I was working 70, 80, 90 hours a week. I was gone every Friday and Saturday night. Lived in the gym in the wintertime, lived at the football field, whether it was a home football field or the visitors football field, all fall. Saturdays were spent at school again. The cool thing is my kids could come with me, so I'd take my kids. And
But wasn't really great for date night, right?
No, it was not
date
great for
nights.
date night, especially when Brittany stayed home alone with our youngest for that last couple years, and so she, you know, she was lonely and
Disenchanted with that whole idea.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of great things, but something was missing, and that's why we decided to make these changes. At first, I was going to stay in my career, and we were going to open OsteoStrong, and we were just going to go a year of
That, like, so you had that steady income coming in, because you're investing in a franchise. You got to come up with some capital.
Yeah.
You got to take a risk. It takes a while to build it up.
Yeah, we've been saving for some sort of investment, and it was a time. And then the more we got to thinking about things, you know, I sat down with Nick a year ago, February, because I worked for Nick McLean, and so sat down with him and then started my real estate broker's course, which is 90 hours, and finished that by April or May, and took my test and passed my test. And when I finished my course, I was like, you know what?
So you still had your job.
I had my job. Yeah, I had my job because my contract went through the end of the school year. And when I finished my course, we kind of looked at each other and said, we'll be okay. And I have a teaching certificate still, so I could go back to teaching if I wanted to. But we said, you know what? To make this work the best that we can, to support each other, it's not going to work with me doing my current job and trying to get a new business off. And if we would have stayed the way we were, it would have been disastrous.
Well, and you can also take a look at that and think, okay, so, you know, I understand the need for job security, and fortunately, you guys, like you said, you'd had savings, you had this, you know, you weren't just, you know, running up your credit cards to start a new business or something. You took a responsible approach. But sometimes I think taking that huge leap without that plan B is really a calculated leap, not, you know, like I said, you wouldn't want to, you know, be completely irresponsible when you have 3 kids or something.
And a mortgage.
And a mortgage and all the things that go with it, and you've started a new business. But to really take a calculated leap when you, like you said, you still have your credentials, you still have a backup opportunity, but if you hadn't given 100% to this, it wouldn't be what it is today, you don't think?
No, if we hadn't jumped in 2 feet, just go for it, you know, say a prayer, talk to people, have support from some amazing friends who really saw our true potential. And that's where it really comes from. I think we had friends and family that saw our true potential, and we're like, yeah, do it. Let's do it. And then the amazing family that is within OsteoStrong, and just having confidence in ourselves and believing that we're going to go play 100% all in. You know, you listen to people like Gary Vaynerchuk and guys like that. Entrepreneurial guys are like, success without happiness is really not true success. And I was at a point where I was successful in my career. You know, I was an athletic director at a really successful program, but I really wasn't truly happy. And so in the pursuit of freedom and happiness, we jumped in, and it's been a great decision. It's been tough. Like, it's been some of the toughest things we've done ever.
But that's when you grow, right? When you're out of that comfort zone.
That's exactly right. That's when you reflect and you grow and you look past this. And yeah, we're struggling to make things work at times because we're in a growth stage of a business. We're basically a newborn business. And so, but it's fun, it's rewarding. The flexibility, I'm more fulfilled as a father, as a husband than I ever have been.
Yeah, people don't really, you can't equate flexibility and time with a dollar amount.
Nope.
So you really have to value it in order for it to really make you feel like that's part of your success, is the time that you get to spend with your family. I was on tour last spring and traveled to 7 different states, and one of the the couple I interviewed, they had lived in Bend, Oregon, and they bought low, and so they had decided, well, they could sell high. And their kids were grown, and what do we want to do now? And they ended up in this little town in Weaverville, California, and they started this really cool place for open mic, and he built guitars from scratch, and they have this really cool story. And when I was interviewing them after participating in the open mic and talking with the people in the community who had never had anything like that before, I said, what was it about your life before? And he said, he said it was a comfort zone, but it was a comfort zone backed right up to a wall. And so we did the same thing year after year for 10 years. And we had a house, and we had a career, and we had, this community, but we were right up to a wall, and we were never going to get past that wall. And so they made that big leap, and I don't think I've had a single regret since. So it is, I think sometimes there's just something about, having like them calculated, sold their house, had some equity, they weren't, just going to be homeless. They bought an RV, they lived in an RV for like 2 years. I mean, just really incredible things that you're capable of. Great things,
amazing
when
things.
pushed outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah, and it's been good. It's been good to jump in, all in, like you said, calculated risk, but all in. We're all in the businesses we're pursuing and growing what we're doing and bringing great things. And then, I get to be a dad. Like, I get to coach my grade kids football team.
Yeah, think about that. You're coaching all these other kids, and you're not having time to coach your own.
And so the relationship there to be able to get my kids after school and go home and do fun things, or, the kids are a challenge, right? We live in Quincy. Our kids go to school at a private school in Quincy. Brittany and I have set a schedule that certain days she can stay late to do business type events. Certain days I can stay late to, show houses or whatever I have to do. So we've kind of created our own life, which is something we haven't been able to do, because as a teacher and educator, you're told what days you can take off. You're told you get Christmas for 2 weeks, you get spring break. There's no way I could take, like, we're going to Disneyland next week. There's no way that I could have done that in my previous career. Summertime's off, that's great, So there are some great things about being an educator. There's a lot of cool things with kids, but the freedom that we are enjoying now is really where the value is for us.
Well, and you were in education. Let's say that to the people who are watching who are in education as well. You were in education for a long time, and you enjoyed that career. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to shift careers. Just like if you were in this career all this time and decided you want to be an educator, it's just about wanting to do what fits for your family.
Yeah.
And so what about real estate appealed to you? Because some would say that was like the biggest risk you could take. You're starting a franchise and you're getting into real estate. Those are like, some would say it's the biggest risk type of a business or career, but it really isn't. It's just like anything else that you set your mind to do.
No, and the cool thing about real estate, and I've loved real estate since my grandparents bought a house for us to live in college, and I saw, that was back in 2003. So I saw what real estate could do, and I automatically became intrigued. I learned the hard way when we bought our first house in 2007.
Ooh,
great time.
During that time to buy, yeah.
And then the market crashes in 2008, and we were able to persevere through that, and we didn't lose our house. We actually sold it for more money than we bought it for, about 3 or 4 years ago. We held on, and we rented it out. We got to see that. Bought and sold a couple other properties. And I always had this vision before I got into administration that I was going to teach and have my broker's license on the side. So it'd be a way to make some side income, because I don't sit still very well, and so I always needed that extra little bit, whether it was coaching or something else on the side. We have a seasonal fireworks business too, so we got our fingers in a lot of pots. And real estate was one of those things where 90 hours, I can do that. I got my broker's license while I was working my full-time job.
90 hours to get your license,
yeah,
not 90 hours a week that you're working.
90 hours to get my license. You go through the state test, you take the exam, and all of a sudden you're a real estate broker. So the barrier to entry is very minimal. It's very minimal. There's no college degree required, and so it was an easy thing to pursue. Thankfully, I found the brokerage that I'm at now. The group that I'm with, the atmosphere, and the support that's available is tremendous to make that jump. We have a number of people in our office that have made that jump, and so it's a tribute to the support that's existent there. So that's one thing that made it a little bit easier. But I've always loved real estate, and the cool thing is the harder you work, the more you're going to receive, financially, with people, giving people. The more hours you work, the more people you can serve. And I go into it with a servant mindset. I'm an educator at heart. I want to serve people. I want to see them be happy. So that's fulfilling, and fulfilling on an individual basis where I get to work one-on-one. So it's very similar to coaching. We had a reflective time where I was like, I miss teaching. And my manager broker says, you're still teaching. You're just teaching different content to adults. And it's really cool. Point. really
Yeah,
good.
because we all have our lessons to learn and what we can share. And I think that by coming on the show and sharing your story, and somebody's watching who might think, yeah, there's something in there for me, or just, making that switch and having that mentality that it's possible. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing it. I wish you guys enormous success. I love getting your invites to all the OsteoStrong things that are happening, and I feel like when I get back from this next tour in the spring, I'll be able to have a really nice summer and participate in all the things that are happening in our community, and I look forward to that being one of them. So
thank you for having me. It's been an honor. I was nervous, but it's been great.
It's just a conversation.
Yes,
That's what I know. People come on and they say, "Do you have questions for me? What do I need to prepare for?" And I said, "Well, you know more about you than I do, so it's really my job to come up with the questions and then make it just so it's a nice conversation."
It's been wonderful.
Thanks for coming on. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.